Morning, everyone. Dropped in a poll there as if you want to start filling that out, if you will do so, please so kindly. And for those of you that are joining, as your alarms are going off, that you have signed up for a webinar, welcome. Thanks for being here today. That's me.
Hey,
I'm Jeremy
Scott
Cherney.
Phelps here. On this quiz, why don't you have like Word and PowerPoint and Excel, the more popular stuff? Are you just looking at the less popular stuff, or what?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we only have so much space for there, but I think, yeah, we're pretty much assuming most people are using the Word, Excel, and that part of it as well.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. So thanks for being here today, everybody. We know you got a lot going on, and so thanks for taking time out of your day and week and life to be here to learn a few things about Microsoft 365. These kind of webinars and this kind of a thing, it's, we solicit feedback from people on what they'd like to see, and sometimes we get some good juicy stuff, and sometimes it's just stuff that I find interesting and feel like sharing, and that's some of what today is. So, take what works for you, leave what doesn't, and just be curious, because some of these things are like really kind of a new concept, and you might be wondering like how they might apply at your work, or maybe you're like know exactly how it is that you can apply it, and you may have some questions about how to actually make it happen. So you might have some questions and answers there, or at the end, certainly you can do that as well here. Let's see how we're doing on the poll here. Well, Outlook is a clear winner. A lot of people using Teams. We got 19 people on the call so far. About less than half using SharePoint, a lot of more than half using OneDrive, and the others just start to trail off. So using some of it, that's good. Hopefully you learned some of that at some of our webinars, and you picked up some of that there.
Yeah, Jeremy, Scott again. We don't really use SharePoint and OneDrive very much, but part of that's just because we don't know how to use it. So even though I didn't click, that I use it, I'm interested in learning more about those two.
Okay, great. Yeah, you can put some of that feedback. We'll be touching on some of those. We've got a set schedule for today, but if there's anything later on, that's part of why we want to know what's of interest to people. So thank you. Very good. Okay. Let's see. So a little bit about Microsoft 365, because there's a lot of things. If you look at what's on here, there's so many products and services they have, and it's been around for a long time. For some of you, it's very new. You're just kind of getting into it, but it's been around for more than a decade, and it used to be something called Microsoft Business Productivity Online Suite, the BPOS. And then they renamed it to something else, and then Office 365, and then Microsoft 365. They've changed their logo a little bit. There's even a new logo coming. They got that, I don't even know what you call it, other Office logo with the kind of weird orange bracket, and now it's some kind of infinity blue purple thing. So that looks cool. And so they continue to evolve not only their branding and marketing, but they continue to evolve what is included with the suite, and kind of putting together the different tools and things into these different monthly subscription services. There's different tiers of services depending on what you need, and you can mix and match tiers depending on your needs. But fundamentally, Microsoft is hosting everything in their cloud. However they've got that set up in data centers around the world. They've got a uptime guarantee, and they've got support, and then they've got their service board when there's issues there and things like that. So you put a lot of reliance in them in terms of hosting. And we like to think of it like a Swiss Army knife. There's so many different tools. Scott, you were asking before about some of the tools there. There's others we're going to share. There's so many different tools that come with Microsoft 365 that you may or may not have, may or may not need, but we'd like to at least they're there, so you can have a choice on that, as well as how you might use some of them. And Tobin helps with all of that. We want to train you on this. We really, security is really important with this. You put a lot of trust in Microsoft, and you put your data up there, And there's a lot of things you can do with it, and a lot of ways you want to give access to people and prevent others that don't need access to it and that. So there's a lot around security. You might be wondering, how do you get to Microsoft 365? You might already be there for email, but you might be wondering how you're going to get there for your documents or other services you use. So we can help with that. We can help with administration of it, and development and integration, because even with all these different things you're going to see, there's ways of programming it behind the scenes to automate and integrate. So there's a lot there. Most of you are probably in one of these tiers. You might be in a different tier if you're a nonprofit or have some other service or that. I think a lot of our clients are in the business basic, or the standard or the premium. Not too many are just using apps unless they're using like Google Mail for that. And then they just have apps because they still want the Microsoft 365 suite. But fundamentally, you're getting the, some version of Microsoft Office, whether it be the full desktop or available online through the web. We're going to talk a lot about doing things through the web today, because that's some of the power tips that, and some of the only places to even access some of these things. We're going to talk a bit about file storage and sharing, and you get different versions of that with this, with OneDrive and SharePoint. And you get your business class email with some of them, you get your Teams, and with the business premium, which Microsoft has now added in some of their advanced identity and security solutions. And device management solutions all in one place too. So we have a lot of clients that are doing business premium now because it provides a good security stack with all the other features they want. They raised their prices a little while ago, so if these are looking a little different than what you might be thinking, that's what they are. It was the first time they raised prices in a while, but they did raise prices eventually. So one of the things, Microsoft is giving you all these applications that you're paying for, giving is a relative term. They are, you put all your data up there, and what you want to know is that with everything I'm going to show you, it's that you still have responsibility for your data. This is off of Microsoft's website. This is what they call a shared responsibility model. So this is a power tip today, is to know that any data you've got in Microsoft 365, you're responsible for. You might think, well, Microsoft is because I pay them and we use their services. No, this is when you click through that thing, that terms of service, that scroll through end user license agreement, this is what you agreed to, that no, you're really responsible for your data fundamentally. And, they'll make sure it's backed up in a lot of different ways. And obviously they have a vested interest in keeping it online and working for you. And they do have some commitments around that, but how you use these tools, how you, alter the data, how you integrate, how you manage it and all that, it's really up to you. And so with great power comes great responsibility, as Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker. And it's the same thing for you all, is once you start putting data up there, you want to really know what you're doing, who you're giving access to, because it's really easy to, create a potential exposure for yourself that you weren't anticipating. I talked about what features you're using, and, Scott, you were asking about some of the applications right here. There's a lot that you get with Microsoft 365, depending on the tier of service. It is an app-o-rama. You have the desktop apps, if you're subscribing to those. If you've got that business premium, you've also got their Intune and Azure information protection components. And then on the web, I had to break it into two slides or two blocks here, because it didn't fit on the one slide. You have so many other apps, and these are all available through a web browser. So all the data's out there, and then you've got some version of Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Teams, all of these also available through the web or through your phone, or through a smart, your tablet, any of that kind of thing. So there's lots of different ways to get at this, which is pretty cool, because in the background, Microsoft has it all connected for you. That's what's really neat about this. That's where some of the power comes in. Whoop, must have a little animation in there. I gotta delete, jump forward for me. So hopefully it'll pause here for a second while we talk about this. So all of these apps and services, right? Microsoft is hosting this for you, right? They've got their servers and data centers around the world in different places, and however all that's all set up, and all these big servers, you've got your server. Microsoft has thousands and thousands of servers set up around the world, running all these applications for you, giving you access to them over the cloud, giving you those services that you're paying for with that tier of Microsoft service that you pay for every month. And then in the background, it's connecting it all for you. Some degrees very highly, to a very high degree. In some ways, you're like, this should be pretty easy, and it's not connected, and I don't know why, and maybe they'll get to it at some point. But the bottom line is, once you've got all this out here, there's a lot you can do with it. And some of it's pretty useful. In some of these, you might look at this and it looks like one of those boards from the person trying to catch the murderer here, and who's pointing to who here. But there really are connections here if you make them, if you link them, if you set things up. And so what's nice about that is, when you search, you can search across everything that's up in Microsoft 365. When you pull data from one application, maybe you want to pull some data from the calendar from your Outlook into SharePoint to show people in a different place, you can do that. And it's easy to pull in. You don't have to do a lot of special jumping through hoops for it. So it's tremendously powerful. And it's really that's why one of the benefits of moving more data to Microsoft 365 is the more data that's up there, the more you can look at it through the graph, the more you can connect and relate and integrate applications, people, data. So this is a big power tip, and I don't know how many of you all use this. You probably use it anywhere else in your life. If you're a parent or anyone who has got kids or any other projects or anything where you also have a Gmail world. A lot of times you're going online to Google or gmail.com and you log in and you do your email and documents and all that kind of stuff. You can do all of that through Microsoft 365 via a web browser, all the same kind of stuff. And for some reason, people, they like the desktop apps, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you can use both. You don't have to use either or, but there are some things that are only available so far through the web browser, and I'm going to share some of those, and they're pretty handy, I think. And you can have both open. Like a lot of times I'll have Outlook open on the web, and I'll also have my full desktop Outlook open as well, and kind of bouncing between. There's a few reasons for that. But so all you have to do is go to office.com, and you log in with your ID password and your multi-factor authentication, because hopefully you've got that turned on. If your machine, your workstation's already connected to your account and you go to office.com, it should just log you in automatically. And then you will have the opportunity to start using Microsoft 365. So, and this is also handy. Sometimes, you're calling our help desk because you got some glitch with Microsoft 365. It's Word is crashing or Outlook is freezing or hanging or something like that. So this is kind of a nice backup to it. If you're having a problem with Outlook, you could just log into office.com and go in there and check your email that way as a backup while we fix the other issue. So, or maybe you're going to someone's house for Thanksgiving and you want to log in, on the web browser and check something. You can do that too. So puts all of that information everywhere. It really starts moving your data, more of it, into the cloud. So we're going to do a live demo on some of these things in a bit, but I'm going to kind of whet your appetite with just telling you a little about what some of these features are. This is kind of a nifty thing, and it's on the web app for Outlook. So if you open up, go to office.com, and then you click the waffle menu in the upper left corner, or the app menu, and then you go to Outlook, and then you go to your calendar. Normally in your calendar, you've got different views, right? Your daily, your weekly, your monthly. There's a new view called a board view. And when you click on the board view, and again, this is only in the web app, it may come in the new version of Outlook. It might even be there for now, all I know, because they keep updating that stuff so quickly, but I haven't seen it there. And there is a new desktop Outlook program coming at some point soon, I think, that maybe has that built in. But that's one of the things you start to see is Microsoft is putting different development efforts in different areas. And so they might be adding features in one place and not another. This board is kind of cool. So on your web browser, you could think of this like it's that board you put up maybe on the refrigerator with sticky notes and calendars and things like that. It could be a whiteboard kind of metaphor for you. It could be a desktop metaphor, like if you laid out all these things on the desktop, you could do that. And then you, on this board, you can start to add in a calendar. It could be your calendar. It could be someone else's calendar. It could be a company calendar. You can put in notes. You can grab things from your task list. So if you've got things in Outlook that are tasks, or you're using the Microsoft To Do app, it looks like some of you are using that. You can bring in those tasks. You can group things together in a collection. You can set a goal. So you can put a little thing on there that says maybe by 12:15, I want to complete the build out of our new office. You can put that on there, and then it's going to put a little countdown timer, and it'll show you the days, and we'll look at that in a bit. So you can start to build these things. Now, how you use this, I don't know. This could be kind of fun. You can have this board, and you could pop this off into a new window while you're doing other things. You know, you could have Outlook open on one, and you can have this board open in another browser window on another screen. You could start your day organizing, like who are the people you're going to talk to, which are the files you have to work on. I don't know. There's a lot of fun ways you could do this. So, and you can create multiple boards. You can lock the boards. I think you can share the boards, maybe. Not sure about that. If not, I'm sure that's a thing that's coming. And some of this might be shared information. You know, this doesn't have to only be your data. This can be a task list. Remember, we got the graph behind us. So we've got all that data sharing going behind in the applications. So this doesn't just have to be your information. You can be pulling from other information that you have access to. So we'll do a little demo on that in a bit, but that's pretty nifty. I could see people really using that. I could see people using this, like, you know, if you're one of those people that's got 3 or 4 screens, or you put a big, you know, a big like 24-inch or 48-inch screen and put it over your desk somewhere, and you're that person that's kind of got that dashboard for the office about what's happening that day, things like that. Like you could have that and update it, and everyone could see it. I don't know. I think it's cool, but you can start thinking about for yourself where that might be useful. Snoozing emails. This is a nifty little feature here. I think it's either used to be in the full Outlook client, or it's coming. I don't know where it is, but I know it's in the web app. So I often will use my inbox as a to-do list. I don't know how many of you do that. That's one way you can use an email inbox. And there are times I get an email where I'll flag it and follow it up for later. And there's a lot of easy ways to do that with Outlook. You know, you can flag it and do that. You can flag it and save it as a task and then see it in to do. You can file it and move it or something like that. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't even want to think about this. Or I do want to think about it, but I want to think about it tomorrow or next week or next month. So this is a nifty little thing. So on the email you get, you just click the little clock, or there'll be, you know, depending on your view of it, there'll be a snooze thing on your taskbar, or you right click on it, and then you click snooze, and you get this little menu that pops up, and you can say snooze till later today, this evening, tomorrow. You can pick a date. And then what happens is Outlook automatically moves that email into a special folder. And I think it's either called snoozed or scheduled. It might be both. And so that's where they are. If you ever accidentally snooze one, you want to go back and fix it. And then what'll happen is it'll then drop back into your inbox at the appointed date and time. So I think that's really kind of handy, because sometimes I'm just like, you know, don't bother me right now. I don't even want to have to make any kind of a decision on this. I just want to punt this for a later time. You know, I don't know, is there, you know, so however you think about this, this is a nifty feature, and I think you should try this out and see if this helps kind of manage your day. So let us know what happens there. In the full Outlook program, and again, you may or may not have some of these things I'm showing you. I think you probably do, but you know, if you're a Microsoft 365 user, Microsoft is often updating that program, often updating the interface and adding new features and things like that. You know, it kind of just is what's happening with it. So in this case, you might have this little Teams icon. So when you're in Outlook and you're in an Outlook email, and normally you have the, you know, reply all, forward. See a little Teams icon. If you click on that, you'll have a couple of options. So why am I showing this as a power tip? Because email has not going away and it has lots of uses and it's handy for certain kinds of conversations. But sometimes it's when it's really trying to be a conversation, you're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That is sometimes annoying, right? You have a lot of emails to clean up. Sometimes it's not timely. And sometimes you're really trying to just have a conversation about something. So the share to Teams is, that's what Teams is like, lives for, is having conversations, whether you're chatting, whether you're doing voice conversation, whether you're doing a video chat, whether you've integrated it with your phone system. So instead of going back and forth with email, lends itself more towards having a conversation of, I'm just going to share it to Teams. So you click that, and what happens is it takes the email and it brings up another window for Teams, and it says, what do you want to do? Who do you want to share this with? And you can bring up an individual person. You can bring up a channel if you're using Teams and channels that way, you can share it there. And then it brings it right in as an attachment, and then you can chat about it right from there. And I find that super useful because I might as well get an email from a client, and it might even have some of my team on it. And then I want to reply all to the team, but I don't want the client. We're not, you know, we're talking internally about it first before we talk to the client about something. This allows us to kind of take it offline that way. And that's one way we can use it. It's easy to reference. Sometimes you want to start chatting about something, but you want to chat about that email, and you might be going in to copy and paste a section of it in or something like that. So this is just a shortcut, shares it right to Teams. Or maybe I don't want to share the item to Teams, but I want to chat with the person who sent me the email. So if they're in my organization, like Amanda, who Amanda's on the call with us too today. She's at Tobin, and she's helping co-host today's meeting. And if I wanted to, I could, if this were live, I could chat with her that way. So that's handy. Or maybe I want to schedule a meeting with Amanda about this email. And if there were multiple people on this email, you could then schedule a Teams meeting with multiple people right from there. So it's a really handy shortcut to get to all that stuff. And we're seeing, you know, if you're starting to use Teams, it looks like better, let's see, at the time we took that poll, we had about 71% of you are using Teams. If you might be using it for some of these things like chatting back and forth, this is another way to sort of integrate those emails and get them into Teams where you're starting to do that chatting. All right, let's see. Microsoft Bookings is, you may have heard of Bookings. You may have heard of a similar product by a competitor called Calendly. What is so annoying is setting up an appointment with people, right? You just want to meet with people, whatever that is, if it's a client or a vendor or a partner or a date or a haircut or whatever it is, and you're just trying to do that dance back and forth of trying to coordinate each other's calendars. And usually you're trying to get someone to coordinate with your calendar, right? And how to do that, right? You talk to that prospect, or you've got that client meeting coming up and you want to set that, and you start doing that back and forth. And what happens when you do that back and forth? First of all, it's emails back and forth, and then people looking at their calendar, does that work? No, that doesn't work. Or they reply back later on, and by the time they reply back, someone else booked up that time slot. So there's a lot of that dance back and forth. Sometimes it really kills the joy, the excitement. It might be like, oh, I finally got to meet you. Great. We're so excited to have this meeting where we can share with you the products and services that you so desperately want to buy from us. And so great, we're going to meet, and everyone's excited. And then you start to try and set up that appointment, and then what happens? Like the flame starts to fizzle out because the energy dies because you're trying to schedule things back and forth, and you got to start to fan the flames again and try and get the energy going. So what's a way to keep velocity here is with Microsoft Bookings. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to create inside of Microsoft 365 in a group calendar or in a personal calendar. You can go in and program bookings to say, hey, I want to have Thursday afternoons available for half-hour client appointments via Teams. I want them able to connect with me and schedule a half hour to talk about whatever it is that how we're going to rock their world, right? And so what I can do is I can go into bookings and I can block out that 4-hour block of afternoon on Thursday, and I can say create half-hour slots, and then I can create a link that's got my logo on it, and then I can put that in my email signature. I could put in an email campaign to some clients that I want to connect with. I could just share it to any client. Maybe I just talk to somebody and they're like, hey, can we talk about this project? Yeah, great. When can we connect? I can just share that link. And then they can open it up and they can see not my whole calendar. They can just see that on Thursday, there's this 4-hour block, and maybe a half hour is already booked and they won't be able to pick that block, and they'll see that's blocked out. But if they pick one, they can click it and then they own it, and then it shows up on your calendar. A lot of you have this already. How much time could you save? How much excitement could you keep in the process and all of that, right? You want to just keep things moving, right? That's what today is. Go, go, go world, right? So this is it, it's such a, yeah, it sucks a lot of time out to try and do that stuff with a calendar. Anyone that does it knows what it's like. It's tough. So maybe it's your assistant doing this. They could also be using this. And while you want them to be managing your calendar, there's probably other higher value things you could be having them do as well. Maybe they do some of the booking here and then they're helping you with other things. Ways to free up people's time, ways to free up your time, ways to get a better technology experience, which is our mission at Tobin Solutions. So there's your booking. So that's a pretty cool thing. Let's see, what else we got here? Microsoft Lists. I've been talking about this for a while. We're starting to use this at Tobin for some things. I want to share it with you later in a demo. We all have lists. I know you have lists because you're a human being. Human beings have lists, either written down, either in their head, either on a whiteboard, in a notebook somewhere, wherever it is. You've got these lists in a spreadsheet, in a Word doc, wherever you've got them. And we use them. We use them for ourselves. We use them as a team. We use them with customers. And what is it? It's what's on the list, what's the status of it, maybe who owns it, where is it, what's a due date, things you could put in the list, anything like that. Or it could be a list of stuff you want to buy. I'm a watch collector. My son loves watches. He's got a whole list of watches that he would love to purchase someday. So he could make a list in here. That's kind of a silly usage, but it kind of illustrates a point. Like you could store anything in lists, and Microsoft has a bunch of templates for those to start, and you can even start from an Excel file or create one from scratch, and we'll do a demo of that. But the beautiful part of this is not only is this available through the web, there's a full Windows application. There is an Android and an iPhone app as well. So you can take these lists anywhere. So you can have them, you can add to them, you can edit them, you can mark things off, you can share them with your team. Anywhere they're at, they can have a list, and you can have lots of lists. So it's nifty. So we were asked earlier about Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and those kinds of things. Microsoft has another application. It was called Office. What did they call it? That's another thing that's changed a lot in names, and now it's going to be called Microsoft 365. It's an all-in-one application. They've got it on Windows, they've got it on Apple, they've got it on Android. And I'd encourage you to take a look at it. For some people, they're like, I still don't quite get where some of these things are you're talking about, Jeremy. I don't see where my documents are in Microsoft 365. You could load this up and it's going to show you immediately like recent documents you've worked on and things like that. You can see what it would look like to access some of these things from your phone or from a tablet. It's super handy. And a lot of times you want to go in. This is great for a remote workforce, right? Because you've got maybe policies and procedures and checklists and things like that you want to share with people. You've got this remote workforce. You've got people that are mobile all the time now with their phones and tablets, and maybe that's part of your culture that, you know, they're doing work here and there on their phones and things like that. If that's what they do, give them access to it. Maybe some people want to do it, maybe some people don't, but for those that do, if they can get more things done and it works for them and works for you, you know, it's great. So there are all of these different applications. This one's nifty. Like I said, it kind of puts everything all in one place. So whether you're working on a
Jeremy,
spreadsheet-
Scott Phelps here. Sorry. So yours is Microsoft 365 is different than Microsoft Office 365. I'm not clear on this.
It's the so Microsoft 365, and I'm not clear on it either, Scott. How's that? So Microsoft 365 has changed their name and done all that as I showed you through the years. They have still Office 365, which is the desktop applications. That's the way I'm referring to this. This specific application is going to be called just Microsoft 365. I'm not sure if that's clear as mud for you or not. All the traditional Microsoft Office 365 applications that you think about are still available and are still around. So, like I said, Microsoft is just finding new ways because there's some people that are like, oh, Word, Excel, that's so old school. You know, you've got a whole generation of people that are not just born, but now graduating from and already using on a day-to-day basis all these applications that did not involve Microsoft or the traditional way how we used to use applications. So, you know, when you've got a cloud world, there's lots of new options for this, and Microsoft is throwing a lot of darts at the wall to see which ways they can do these things. And, you know, we'll see which ones win in the end. In the end, some of these applications may go away. This one keeps shifting, but I find this one useful. It's real quick for, I like this one if I'm at a client site and I was working on something for them and I had something in OneDrive or SharePoint or Teams or something like that, and I can just pop it up right here while I'm at a client site and email it to them or do something like that. This one is going to take a demo here, and we're going to get to a demo in a minute, and it's Microsoft Loop. So when you're in Microsoft, oh boy, how do we explain what Microsoft Loop is? I'll just tell you what Microsoft says. It is to collaborate in the flow of work with Loop components. I'm sorry, let me start again. Collaborate in the flow of work with Loop components. Work together on lists, tables, notes, or even a customer sales opportunity from Dynamics 365 on a Loop page or in a chat, email, meeting, or document. Loop components in Microsoft 365 apps are rolling out now. So what does that mean? Microsoft has this new technology. They call them loops. And these are little bits of data. And if you look, you can see these now from Microsoft Teams. When you're in Teams and you're chatting at the bottom of where you would normally chat, and you've got things to format your message, there's a new, you may see a little icon down there for loop components, and you can bring up this menu. And this will make a lot more sense maybe when I do a live demo here, but you can bring these things up, you know, and you could do a list before, like you could format a numbered list in Teams before. I don't know if you knew that, but you know, when you typed in Teams, you could highlight and bold and change colors and put a, you know, bulleted list and things like that. This takes that and makes it become a smart little reusable bit of information that you can embed and link and use in different ways. And Microsoft is rolling out other ways to use it, like through what they call workspaces and pages that are coming. I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't put some of these loops at some point, if you can't already, on the board view I was showing you in the calendar before. So the it'll be interesting to see where these things go, because they're pretty interesting. And like I said, when I do a demo, it might be a little more clear. So that is Microsoft Loop. Another product, this is not from Microsoft. What we're running into is a lot of clients have moved a lot of their traditional applications to the cloud. You know, they've moved their accounting system to something cloud-based. They've moved their business management system to something cloud-based. And they're finding less and less need for their traditional file servers on site. You know, there's some things the files or servers are doing from a security perspective and some other things. But in a lot of cases, they're primarily how they started off, you know, years and years ago, which was just file storage for putting documents and folders. And so there's a lot of ways that can move to Microsoft 365 through their technologies of SharePoint and OneDrive. And there are some people who their hesitance to moving is they don't want to learn SharePoint or OneDrive. They just don't want to. That's fine, not judging. It takes something. If you've been going to the same folder, you know, if you have a Z drive or an S drive or a P drive or a Q drive or a U drive or whatever that is that you've been using, and been using that for 20 years, you got a lot of muscle memory there. So it's a big ask to say, hey, go completely learn something new. Sometimes it's an impediment. Sometimes people want to get rid of their old server. They want to do this, but they don't have time to invest in the training. For some people, they have a solution that is either a stopgap measure or in some cases a permanent solution, and that's through a third-party add-on application called Z Drive. And what Z Drive will do is map existing SharePoint and OneDrive to traditional drive letters that you would normally see on your desktop. And so from the end user's perspective, it looks the same. You know, if they have a P drive that they go to, we can map P drive to SharePoint. They go to the P drive, it looks and operates the same. They can see it through their Windows Explorer. They can link to it just like they did. We have some people that link spreadsheets and they've got links to drive letters. Those drive letters don't exist in SharePoint. So this is a way to put that together. And the Z drive is a nice way for doing that. It's a nice way for mapping your home drive. And it's, again, a nice stopgap measure for some people that allows them to move more quickly to get the benefits of Microsoft 365 without all the resistance to change and the time it's going to take to train people and all that comes with that. So we have that. We've got some demos here. I'm going to do some demos here. Let's see what I want to show you.
And Jeremy, did you mention the difference between SharePoint and OneDrive? That's been one question that we've had. Maybe I missed it.
We did not get into that today. We have other webinars on that, so I could point you to those for a deeper dive. But fundamentally, they're both, if you're using them for file storage, they're both operate very similarly, except OneDrive is typically more your personal storage, and SharePoint is more the group storage.
Great.
Right here, let me share the screen. Okay. So let's see, we're sharing the screen here. Does that look good? Yes. Just make sure we're sharing correctly. Yes, that looks good. Okay. So this is Outlook on the web, and it doesn't really much look like Outlook because I'm not going to bring up my own full inbox here. But if you go to office.com and then you click on the waffle menu or the app menu and you see all the different apps on the side and you click on Outlook, you'll go to a traditional view of Outlook, and you click on your calendar on the left side, and you'll start to notice some of these little bits of icons and things starting to show up. Microsoft just seems to be jamming stuff everywhere. It's in the new desktop version of Outlook. They're putting things in here to click and links, and they're handy. You can add stuff to them. But if you click on the calendar, again, normally my calendar would show up, but I'm not going to bring up my full calendar. But normally you have the day view, the week view, the month, and then the board view. And that's what I'm in, is this board view. And I deleted what's there. If you go there, you'll probably see some default board view stuff, which would probably be your calendar and maybe some things from your task list. But if I go in here and I go to you can create new boards. So I can open this and I have a default board, or I can add a new board, or just another board. And I can go in and say, add to the board, I want to add a calendar. Now I'm going to add just an untitled blank calendar here, but I can do that. And I can change the view of it. Maybe I want it to be a work week view. So I can do that. And maybe I want to add to the board. I want to know the weather, because that might impact, what's going on today. Maybe I got a service business that we work outside, or just want to know what the weather is today. Oh, it looks beautiful here in Milwaukee, 34 degrees. You can add a goal. So let's say we're going to win the game here, and I don't know what that goal is, but we'll put it out here for the end of November. And you can see now it's got a 14 days. And when I come and look at this board tomorrow, it's going to be 13 days. So you get a countdown. You can drag and drop these, move them around. Now, again, this is Outlook on the web. And I'm looking at this through a web browser. I happen to be using Microsoft Edge, but you can see the same thing through Chrome and Firefox and Safari. And because it's a web browser, all of these are web links. So you're very familiar, most likely, in how to create bookmarks on your browser to bookmark pages. So anything that's in Microsoft 365 that you're seeing through the web browser can be bookmarked. I can save this as a favorite. I can click here and add it to my favorites. I can copy and paste this link. I can, if I have another tab open, I can have this be a separate window. And this could be that window I could drag to another screen, or to that big, I mentioned you could have like a 48-inch screen somewhere in a hallway where you have this up where people can see what's going on for people at work that day. Or because this would be my calendar, but this could be the group calendar. This could be your production schedule. You can add in files. Maybe there's a file you're working on that day. Maybe in the morning, you're the kind of person who I envy so much, who gets and thinks about your day and organizes and pulls everything together that you need and gets it all ready. Well, you can also do it digitally. You can start pulling together the documents you want to work on today. You can start putting in a note here of things I want to get done today. Oh, got a little circle here, all Microsoft thanks, but normally would pull up a little note file and you could start typing in notes, free-form notes or anything like that. Let's try that again. And a note. Love it. Demo time, right? So, and why we talk about the technology and we talk about disaster recovery and why you can't always count on all these things. And sometimes if this was critical, you might have to have a backup plan. But in the meantime, that's kind of the board. So this is kind of neat. You can create more boards. You've got settings for the boards. Oh, there we go. Take a note. So I can call it my list. Whatever you want to put in there. It could be a list. It could be notes. Anything that you want to do for the day. Again, you can drag and drop these around, make them how you want them to be, that kind of thing. So these are the boards. I would try them out and see if you find something useful for you. If you can organize your life in a way that pulls things in. You can link to other stuff, and pretty nifty. All right, so that is that. Let's see here. There's boards. Microsoft Lists. So I was talking about lists before. So what I'm looking at here is the Microsoft Lists application. That's an application you can get in the Windows Store. And so you can download it, but it's also available from a web page from that was at before. And there's also an app for your phone and your tablet. So you can look at your lists, or if you had organizational lists, you could see all of those in here. I don't have any lists in my own lists here, so I'm just going to create one. And I'm going to say a new list. Now you've got some templates, and this is a fun place to start if you just want to play around, but some of these look pretty useful. How many of you are out there recruiting people right now? There's a little recruiting tracker. How many of you have got issues? I got issues here, there, right? What do you want to do? You want to track those issues. So here's an issue tracker. Maybe you got travel requests. These may fit your need. They may be a good place to start. They may be more than you need, and you can probably delete what you don't need out of there, but they're kind of handy. So I'm going to click on one to start, and you can see, oh, what does this look like here? Track issues and bring them to closure in this list. And it gives you a little sample of what it looks like. Hey, this is nice. It's got an issue name, place I can put a description, prioritize, color-coded status. I can assign it to somebody. Cool. So I'm going to say use this. And I'm going to call it work issue tracker. And I'm going to leave the icon the way it is. I'm going to change it to that. I'm going to make it green, and I'm going to create it. Let's see if this goes quickly. And there we go. So we are now in the list, and it says, welcome to your new list. And it says, select the new button to get started. So I can say new. And if this looks like any of you have used SharePoint before, if this looks like something out of SharePoint, that's actually where these lists get stored. So I can say, let's see, my work issue tracker is, we are out of cupcakes. That is a big problem. And need food. Now I could give it a priority here. I could say this is, well, we'll say it's normal. Could be critical depending on what's going on. I could put a date in here. Need them by the 25th. I could add a URL. I could link. I could add images. And I can say save. And let's see, did it save? It's kind of browse here. Sometimes you got to refresh. There it is. Out of cupcakes. So you can start to build up a list. And if I want to edit that item, I can click on it. Whoops. What is that? Where is that? Edit all. I can go in here and edit the items. But what's cool is there's a lists app, like I said, for your phone and for your tablet. So people can have this list everywhere. And they can go in and they can edit it and update it. If you want to export this list out to Excel, you can do that. If you want to share it with people. If you want to add some automation and integrate with other things, you can do that too. So it's pretty neat. So I would give Microsoft Lists a try. I know you have lists out there, and I know this is going to be a fit for some of you. So when you see how easy it is to put it together, so give it a try, or try it, try your next list with it and see what you get with it. All right. That is Microsoft Lists. And I'm going to bring up my board again, and I'm going to show you loops. All right. So what you're looking at is I went into Microsoft Teams and I clicked on myself and I just popped out a chat to myself, because I don't know if you knew that, but you could chat to yourself in Microsoft Teams. I'm not sure what that says about your mental state, but it might be helpful for to-dos or reminders or things like that. So, and it's certainly helpful for a demo. If I click on the loops link, you can see some of the loops that I have available to me at the moment. And I'm going to create a checklist. And let's see, I'm going to call it checklist, and I'm going to call it a Thanksgiving checklist just because Thanksgiving's coming up. And I'm going to say, buy the turkey. And then I'm going to say, cook the turkey, and then eat the turkey. Okay. Now, I haven't sent this to anybody. I've just got my list here. Now, if I was sending this to somebody, they would see the same thing. When I go to send it, we now have this special bit of chat window that showed up. Now it's live because I can go in here and mark these as complete or not. And right now I'm the only user of this, but look at this. I can actually share it with people if I want. I can copy this link to this because everything in 365 is like a web browser. So if I go over to here and I go to a web browser and I paste this link, you see the little Thanksgiving checklist here in this link. So it's just a link. I could put that in a spreadsheet. I could put it in a Microsoft list. You could have lists of lists, right? And it's in the same place, but it's live. So watch this. I'm going to buy the turkey. Look at that. It checked it off in both places. Eat the turkey. I'm going to eat the pie here too. Oh, look at that. Eat the pie now showed up here. And got a phone. I got Teams on my phone, right? So I can go in here and just from my phone, I can mark something complete. Look at that. I just eat the turkey. And then I'm going to, whoops. It's live. Take a nap. Now, I don't know how you could use it exactly, but I think you could use it somehow. Now, these little things, these could be things that live around for a long time. It could be a long-term list of something that stays out there. It could just be a list for the day. It could just be something you're brainstorming for something you're working on today, a list. I don't know, it could be anything. And then you can copy and paste it and put the whole list somewhere else. You can add people to it. Like I said, if I did this same loop in a group chat in Teams, they'd all have an opportunity to participate. So I think that's super cool. And I want to share that with you. So let me go back to sharing. Pretty much wrapped up here. We did the demo. That's pretty much it. Let me see if there's anything in the chat that I missed. I think a few things flew through here. Some people are finding some ways to rig some different things here. Yeah, there's some other things that Z Drive does other than the regular mapping, but you know, your mileage may vary, but however you get there, whatever works for that. So that's cool. Thanks for posting the links, Amanda. That's the YouTube video. And I want to hear, what are you taking away from today? So we're going to post one more final question. And actually, no, we have two questions here. We got two questions, sorry. First, we're going to post a question about what you're using around mobile apps. And maybe, I think I wanted to include this earlier before, but now certainly is a good time to see. Now that you've seen some of these things, or maybe you're already using some of these things, which ones do you want to keep using? Or which ones do you want to start to use? If you guys are still texting each other through regular texting, stop it. Use Teams. It's so much easier, and you have a full copy of it. And if someone leaves your company, their texts don't go away with them. And they can continue from their computer with Teams for the chat. And you can copy and paste and include other people and catch people up on a chat. There's so many other things. If you're texting your people for work, I would recommend moving into Teams. And a couple people starting to look at Office on there. That's good. The other thing, so if you're using Outlook on your phone, you may or may not really be using Outlook. So you want to look, no pun intended. So some of you, if you like your iPhone or your Android phone has a built-in email client that probably works with Microsoft 365. And then, so it's not the actual Microsoft application, but it talks to your Microsoft 365 for email and calendar, and it probably works okay. The Microsoft Outlook application, has some other features and functions, and some other things that might be useful for you. So if you're not using Outlook for your email client on your phone, you might want to give that a try as well. All right. So Outlook is still a big hit. Looks like a lot of you are still in Teams. That's good. People are starting to use Office. That's great. OneNote. Hey, who are my OneNote people out there? I love OneNote. So that's super handy. If you guys aren't using OneNote, that's another great power tip. We have a whole webinar. It might be a future webinar on using OneNote again, but it is a great application for sharing information as well, especially with that graph available to you. Some of you are getting to-dos, OneDrive, remote. That's good. If you guys are using Dropbox, I mean, you can continue using Dropbox, but in a lot of ways, OneDrive is can be a suitable replacement for it. It's not for everybody, but can be for a lot of people. Planner. We might tell people more about Planner. I'm surprised people aren't using Planner remotely because it's such a great way of doing task management. Okay. And we have one last survey. And while you're filling out that survey, I will just start to wrap up with any last questions or anything. We want to know how this went for you today. So your feedback is so helpful. So please let us know how we did. You're going to get a link to a survey. And if you can fill that out and let us know, that would be amazing. And we have social media where you can follow us. You can join our newsletter. If you'd like me to speak about this in your office or anything else I've ever spoken about or some other topic in the world of IT security or Microsoft 365, you can let me know. Love to help you and your company, or if you're on a board of directors somewhere or a nonprofit or your other business group or church group or whatever it is. I want people to know about this stuff. I want people to know about security. And I love the opportunity to speak. So we can do it in person. We can do it online. We can do long format, short format. So let's see. Other questions here. How do you access chat from a former employee? So that's a good question. So if you have chat history in someone's Microsoft Teams, assuming that's what you're talking about, Microsoft only keeps that around for so long. So, and they've got different terms of service for that. So once they're gone, if you've repurposed them or it's fallen off their archive, then that's it. You can't do anything about it. Excuse me, I got one more piece to it though, which could at least help you in the future. Excuse me. So Microsoft has the ability to work with third-party providers. So we also provide a third-party solution that will go into Microsoft 365 and back up everything that's in Microsoft 365 3 times a day. So that if you need to restore things like this that have fallen outside of Microsoft's commitment to recover for you, you'll be able to do that. Oh, you're welcome, Scott. Thanks for all your questions and for jumping in. I think, do we miss any other questions? Oh, Mickey, what do you got there, Mickey? Yeah, OneDrive and SharePoint. There are definitely some reasons to use one or the other. And we do have a webinar on that Amanda pointed to. And we try to outline the differences in there, but it is kind of blurry sometimes. Especially when people are trying to find things. I think that's where it becomes a bigger challenge. They have no problem creating stuff, but then finding it after they created it Seems to be the challenge. All right. That is about it. So have a happy rest of your Wednesday. Be safe. Have a great Thanksgiving and holidays that are coming up. I think we have another webinar coming up. I think we're doing one in December, maybe not, depending on the holidays. And otherwise, we'll talk to you in January. Anything comes up along the way or any other way you see that we could help you with Microsoft 365 or anything you learned today or anything else, you just want to chat, feel free to get a hold of us. Great. Thanks for being here. Have a great day. Be safe.